Big, it was just like a chunk like this, you know.
Doing all right? Good.
Honey crap on it.
Yeah, oh yeah. That would be my look.
Yeah, we did another meeting, whatever we need to do. All right. I got you.
How are you doing? Good to see you. Okay, great. Thank you, Sonny.
Getting all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't read. What do people call it? What are you doing? See this first.
That's why.
These are the same ones I got 5 and it looks like Claude Ford and Tibbetts.
Okay. You ready? There we go.
It's going to be
It is 7 o'clock, and we do have a quorum, so I'll call City Council meeting to order. First item on the agenda tonight is the invocation given by Councilman Thornhill, and then the pledge of both the American and Texas flag given by Councilman Gilmore.
You would stand and bow your heads for prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we give thanks tonight for the many blessings that you've bestowed upon us, so many of the blessings that we take for granted. We give thanks for the freedom in the country that we live in and the people that defend those freedoms. We give thanks for the right to assemble here tonight and speak what we feel like we need to speak without fear. Help us tonight as we make decisions for our city. Help us to do the right things for our city and always be with us, and that we do things that are pleasing in your sight. We ask this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
It isn't matter.
one nation under God, one state under God. Yeah, well, we can put it there. Shame it wasn't there in the first place.
The people didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, they did, actually.
Good evening tonight. We're going to have the first thing we're going to do is the swearing in of our new boards and commission people that we have appointed to our new boards and commissions for the next year. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is read your name. If you'll come forward, I'll present you your certificate, and then if you'll stand up here with us, then we'll do everyone swearing in at one time, and then we'll get a group picture of everyone. So as I call your name, if you'll come forward and get your certificate, I would appreciate it. Ralph Bressler.
Oh, Mr. Bressler, good to see you, sir.
Be it known that the City of Louisville City Council has appointed Ralph E. Bressler to the Louisville Park Board place number 1. So if you'll take this, I think we'll get a picture right here. Turn around here, sir. We'll get a photo, and then we'll get a group photo later. All right. Keep your finger up there. Toby Faber. Louisville City Council has appointed Toby Favor on the Library Board, place number 5. Picture here. Sharon Ellis. Hello, young lady. Louisville City Council has appointed Sharon Ellis on the Old Town Design Review Committee, place number 3. Michael Coleman. Mr. Coleman, thank you so much for volunteering. Louisville City Council has appointed Michael Coleman to the Planning and Zoning Commission, place number 2. Place number 2. Thomas Peck. Louisville City Council has appointed Thomas Peck to the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 2, Board of Directors, place number 1. Michael Pope. Good evening, Mr. Pope. Good to see you, sir. We sure appreciate your volunteering time, sir. Thanks for around here.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Louisville City Council has appointed Michael Pope to the Park Board, place number 7. Thank you. Michael. Alvin Turner.
Doing all right.
Louisville City Council has appointed Alvin Turner to the Planning and Zoning Commission, place number 4. Matt McCormick. Good to see you tonight, Mr. McCormick. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Louisville City Council has appointed Matt McCormick to the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 2, Board of Directors, place number 8. Let's give all these young people a round of applause. You know, the board and commissions are the people that really do the bulk of the work for us, them and the staff. They take the time and the effort to go through all the material. They do the help that we need, the backup that we need as a council to help us to make the informed decisions that we make up here every meeting. So we certainly want to thank these people and appreciate them for their time and their effort that they give. So now our city secretary is going to swear them into their oath of office.
Put your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully. Execute the duties. Of the office. State your place. Of the state your board. Of the city of Louisville. State of Texas. And will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state and the charter and ordinances of this state. And furthermore, solemnly swear that I am not directly or indirectly paid for the promise to pay, contribute to your promise to contribute any money or valuable thing or promise any or employment as a
George Washington, but that is not her address. No, he did not. Man, you know, when the tornado went through Gerald, Texas, about 18 years ago, it was the finger of God, man. I'm telling you. It was a pretty big finger. I'm just saying.
And next, we want to do some certificates of appreciation for commission and board members who have been serving for several years and are now going off of those boards or commissions. So as I call your name, if you would, once again, come up, accept your certificate and your plaque, and if you'll stay up here, we'll get a group picture also. Leroy Vaughn. Come on down, please. As many of you might know, Leroy was just elected to the council this past month, and so this is his second actually official meeting. His first was the night he was sworn in, so this is the second one. This certificate, Leroy, is to certify that Leroy Vaughn has served as a member of the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee from June 2009 to June 2011. Once again, we'll see. Wait, let's get this plaque first. All those are plaque. Okay. TJ Gilmore, would you come on down, please? You might remember that TJ was also just elected to the city council this last month. Come on down. Thank you, TJ. This certificate, this certifies that Thomas J. Gilmore has served as member of the Planning and Zoning Commissioner from August 2010 to June 2011.
Thanks, sir. I'll smile on this one.
Rodney Russell.
Stand up for your picture.
Well, I can read these. I like that.
Dude, don't stand in front of us. We don't want
The sight's getting better. Mr. Russell, we certainly do appreciate you serving. No. You know, I was telling Mr. Russell, not only do we appreciate his service, but also the service that his family has done, because when you're up here doing these type of work, you're giving up time and commitment with your family and your home and friends and loved ones, and we certainly want to thank them for their efforts, too. Presented to Rodney Russell in appreciation for his dedicated service on the Planning and Zoning Commission, place number 3, from June 2006 to March 2011 as Vice Chairman 2007 and Chairman 2008-2011. Thank you again for you did a great job. Jim Gallegos. Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate all you've done. You've done a great job with you. Appreciate all you've done, and your family as well. This is presented to Jim Gallegos in appreciation for his dedicated service on the Planning and Zoning Commission, place number 2, July 2003 through June 2011, and Vice Chairman 2008. Appreciate it, sir. Sonny Yukagawa. Where is Sonny? There he is. Sonny, thank you very much for your service. This is presented to Sonny Yukagawa in appreciation for his dedicated service on the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee, place number 7, June 2002 through April 2011, Vice Chairman 2004. Let's all come up here and get a group photo. Keep that correct there.
That was perfect.
Thanks, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Let's give them a big round of applause. Okay, next I'm going to ask our police chief, Kerbo, to come forward with me and give out this next award. We have a very special award we're going to give out tonight, and I'm going to let the chief kind of detail it a little bit here in a few minutes, but I can tell you this person is a very special person, and we were privileged to be able to honor her at our Rotary Club, Louisville Noon Rotary, here this last week also, her and her family. And when you hear what happened, I think you'll see why we wanted to make a special point that this young lady be recognized and given the honors that she's going to receive tonight. This certificate is presented to Renisha Turner for providing CPR to a 3-year-old child who had fallen into a swimming pool at the Valley Ridge Apartments. On June 12, 2011, at approximately 4:40 p.m., a 3-year-old child had fallen into the pool and was found unconscious just under the water. As people around the pool began to realize there was a tragedy occurring, you told another person to dial 911 and begin giving aid to the child. You noticed the child was not breathing and that her heart had stopped. You gave 2 cycles of CPR upon checking for signs of life, saw that the child had started breathing and had a pulse. Louisville Fire and police personnel soon arrived, transporting the child to the hospital for further treatment. Due to your training in CPR, you were able to react and respond to this emergency, thus saving a child's life. Thank you for your quick and immediate actions for helping another person during their time of need, presented on this 11th day of July 2011. Renisha, would you please come forward at this time, ma'am? I'm going to let our chief take over and expand on this a little bit and tell you a little bit more about Renisha and all she's done and present the awards we want to give her tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank everyone for being here tonight. You know, Renisha's a very special young lady because she doesn't even live in Louisville. She was visiting here from Carrollton and, you know, happened to be in the right place at the right time. You know, these days, unfortunately, we see so many tragedies with young people involved. You know, this young 3-year-old could have died very easily that day and not been saved. We also see, likewise, stories about young people, Renisha's age, who we conjure up these images. They're bad guys and they're not good people. But, you know, thank God for a young person like Renisha who did the right thing and was quick thinking enough to step in and do something. Now, at the Louisville Police Department, we have a very vigorous awards program, but that's typically for police officers who do something that's great in the line of duty. The highest award that I can award to her is our Citizens Certificate of Appreciation. I won't read the caption because it's just what the mayor read to you, but I want to present this on this 11th day of July to Renisha Turner, a good kid who did a great thing for our community. Thank you, Renisha. In addition, it's my honor and privilege to present to you our department patch, a little bit of history about our department, but most importantly, our challenge coin. Typically an honor reserved only for members of the department, but I want to give one to you today. They embody our values of duty, honor, service, and commitment. You certainly have shown that, Renisha. Thank you very much for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much, Renisha.
Renisha's family is here too, I believe.
Would you like to say something, honey? Here you go. Step right over here to the microphone.
Thank you for giving me the privilege to come here, and the thing that I did that day was very brave, as I have seen. My mother and grandmother came with me, my grandma from Houston, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Release. Thank you.
You know, it's always special to give away these awards and recognitions, but sometimes it's extra special when you're able to do one for one of the youth in our community, and we're very proud of you, Renisha. We appreciate all that you and your family have done. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is we will be closing into closed session in accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.074, personnel, to discuss election of Mayor Pro Tem and Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. We'll reconvene back into regular session. Is there any action to be taken, council?
I'd like to make is my speaker working? That's on it. I'd like to make a motion that, thank you, that the Mayor Pro Tem be Councilman David Thornhill and the Deputy Mayor Pro Tem be Councilman Rudy Durham.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Guerrero, a second by Councilman Gilmore, a second by Councilman Gilmore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Item F is a public hearing, consideration of issuing 2 oil and gas permits for a site located at 290 West Southwest Parkway known as the B&H NE-1H and SE-1H wells as requested by Titan Operating LLC. On December 17, 2010, Titan Operating Corporation submitted an application to drill and operate 2 natural gas wells known as B&H NE-1H and SE-1H on a 1.8-acre tract of land located at 290 West Southwest Parkway. Staff and Titan Operating have worked diligently to address and satisfy the requirements of the oil and gas ordinance that was enforced at the time of the submittal. The permit application was deemed complete by city staff and the city manager on June 2, 2011 as meeting and or exceeding the minimum requirements of the ordinance. The oil and gas ordinance requires a public hearing and 3/4 of city council approval as the well bores and permanent equipment that could pose a public and safety risk are located within 300 to 500 feet from a protected use. Recommendation is that the City Council consider the issuance of 2 oil and gas well drilling permits as set forth in the above caption.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm going to have to recuse myself. I was informed by the attorney I didn't have to, but so that it doesn't look wrong. I don't want any vision of impropriety. So I'm going to recuse myself from these wells since I'm in the pool of one of the wells from that pad site.
Okay. And we are going to adjourn into closed session again in accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney.
He's going to stay out.
Was going to stay outside.
He's abstaining. I forgot about that.
We'll convene back into regular session. At this time, we'll open the public hearings for item F. And we'd like to have a presentation by staff, please. Yes, sir, Tim. This is Tim Ipolato, our fire marshal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to make a brief presentation on the item before you. It's for 2 new gas wells at a brand new site known as the B&H site. There we go, way up on the... This is a 1.8-acre site located on Southwest Parkway at Misty, just kind of off of 121 behind the QT Market.
Tim, can you come closer to the...
I'm sorry.
Thanks. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Can't tell when you're standing here. First off is the transportation route. Basically, it's on Southwest Parkway. They're just going to go a tiny little distance till they hit State Route 121 and on up to 35. The site will have a pond. I'll go into it a little bit later, but I'd like to talk to you about the setbacks and the protected uses. Again, two proposed wells at this time. There's your tanks and your tank battery. Inner ring is the 500-foot from the well and equipment, and the outer ring indicates the 800-foot. There's 63 protected uses in the 5 to 800-foot ring, and 3 more in the 3 to 500-foot ring. These 3 are commercial buildings. We first have a doctor's office at 401 feet away from the tanks. There's another little strip center there with the Domino's Pizza and a Cleaners. And then off to the east is the QT gas station and market at 464 feet away from the tank batteries. There are no residences within the 3 to 500 foot, but however, the first house you see on the west side on Misty is about 505 feet or thereabouts from the well or the tank battery. Those 3 properties, I should go back, the commercial properties, our ordinance requires that any protected use that's within 3 to 500 feet offers their consent to the well site. Those 3 have offered their consent or provided their consent.
Tim, there's also a residential structure just outside the 500-foot boundary to the south, is there not?
To the south, yes. Those are the Continental townhomes, I believe they are there. And again, I don't have the distance right in front of me, but they're just outside of the 500. Any questions on setbacks? We've worked a lot with Titan on this job, or on this application. If you notice on this picture here, or this slide here, there's a red line on the south and the east side of it. That's a relocated sewer line. Currently, we have a city sanitary sewer line that runs right through the middle of the property. So they'll have to relocate our sewer line for us. And that's what that indication is there. There will be a pond, or they're proposing to build a pond on this site, as you can see in the picture. This pond is strictly for fresh water supply for the fracking operations. There's no mud or coming out of the well and into here as a storage. This is strictly fresh water that they'll buy from the city. Okay? Their proposal at this time is they told us that they would anticipate this pond being there around 7 years or so is their best guess to when they'll be completed with operations out there and in full production. They have offered to escrow funds to the city in order to reclaim that site. So it's temporary. They'll come back in and they'll fill it up and replant the grasses and return it to the state that it's in today. We're not asking for landscaping on the south side of the parcel because, number one, our sanitary sewer line's there and we don't want trees on top of our sanitary sewer. Plus, there isn't really a need for it for visual screening because we have the creek bed there and whatnot, so it's already kind of naturally screened from the townhomes located across the creek. But what Titan has offered to do is take those trees and shrubs that they were going to plant along there and place them out on the front of the pad along Southwest Parkway and a little bit on Misty to give it more visual screening for all the folks driving by there. We also worked with Titan and asked for a masonry screening wall, which is over and above what our ordinance would normally require, and that'll be located on the west side, just basically along the Misty Lane frontage of the property. So we'll have a masonry screening wall, then we'll have our 30-foot landscaping with the extra trees and whatnot, and then Misty Lane. I also wanted to talk briefly about the sound wall. Titan, when they submitted, there was a couple of ordinance revisions ago, but they have complied with everything on our current edition, our current regulation or ordinance today. And everything that we've asked them to do, they have stepped up and done. For instance, on the sound wall, the noise study, in order to comply with our noise requirements, only calls for a 16-foot high sound wall on only a portion of the property. Well, they're going to completely encircle it, the site, and go up to 24 feet high for that extra sound savings or sound safety. And with that, I just wanted to briefly go over it, and I'll happily answer any questions you may have on it.
Does council have any questions of staff at this time?
Tim, how deep's that pond? Do you know how?
I don't recall right now, Councilman. I've got a thing here, and the engineers are here, and they could probably answer that better than I can. But I believe the berms, I can't quite read it on here. I want to say is there a way to, I can't quite read it. 476. I want to say it's approximately 10 foot from the top of the berm, because they're going to dig out and berm up, so the dirt will stay on site. I apologize, I can't read this right now or know it off the top of my head.
Okay. But there is a fence that goes around it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There'll be a masonry screening wall on the west side, and then a chain link fence around the entire site. You can kind of see it in this slide where the X's are. So the entire site will be screened, 3-strand barbed wire on top of it.
Any other questions of staff at this time? Do you have anything, Chloe? Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have several cards here filled out. I would ask that we'll ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. At that time, if you're still speaking, we'll ask you to wrap it up, please. But also ask that if someone has spoken to your wishes, maybe if you'll reference that instead of repeating it. But if you feel like it's worth, or you need to repeat it, feel more than happy to. You took your time out. I want to make sure you have the right to be heard also. Some of these, the way you filled them out, are a little bit confusing, so when I get to your card, if I ask you a question, you feel free to either speak or not speak at that time. And also, if I mess up your name, I want to apologize beforehand, but some of your handwriting is a little bit hard for me to see, so if y'all would bear with me, I would appreciate that. First, and I'm sorry, sir, but Chris, is it Hammock? Hammock.
Friend from Titan.
Oh, hey, Chris, I'm sorry, I couldn't read that there. It says here, I do not wish to speak.
Just available for...
Just here for questions, okay? He is with Titan Operating. Thank you, Chris. I'm sorry, sir. Ario Head is also here for questions, not wishing to speak, but here to answer any questions that might have of him. Bobby Dolak is not wishing to speak, and is here to answer any questions that we might have. And Chad Metcalf. Is that correct, sir? You do not wish to speak, or?
I'll speak.
Okay, come on ahead.
It'll start out a couple of different ways there, so...
Okay, not a problem. That's why I said someone got a little confused here. So
That
if
was
you
me.
would, and I'll ask this of everybody when you come and speak, if you will, just give your name and address for the record. So Chad, if you'd start by giving your name and address.
Chad Metcalf, 409 Misty Lane, and I've got some concerns about the well being so close to my home.
You bet.
So I'm probably about 650 feet away from where it's being proposed to be. The site's being proposed, and I didn't sign any mineral rights over to the organization. I purchased the home 2 years ago, and the previous owner did sell the mineral rights. So I'm kind of in a unique situation here. So, I started looking around just to kind of see the other city ordinances that are around us. And when you look at Grapevine, you look at Colleyville, South Lake, all of those have 1,000 foot, at least before you could actually put a well, by a residence. Coppell as well, zoned the way it was zoned, that wouldn't have actually passed with it being, if it was being trying to be placed within Coppell. Bartonville and Flower Mound, I think they've ceased, right now at this point, trying to take a look and see exactly what health, risks there are from a possible well, being close to the public like this. A couple of things. It's pretty close to a gas station. Just doesn't seem to be the best idea, for me to have it that close to a gas station. Possible health risk, which I know there's no quantifiable evidence to say that is something, that you have to deal with, but there's no evidence saying it's not. So, if you err and you want to lean into a direction, it only makes common sense to me to lean saying, well, let's assume that there is going to be a potential health risk. The property value. I purchased a home 2 years ago. Again, it's really close to my home. I expect it's going to have a negative impact on my property. So, there's multiple factors of why I oppose this. And I would just ask, if it was where you lived. And I actually talked to Tim, the fire marshal, and called when I got the information about this well being. And he told me he wouldn't want it to be by his house. And so, if you just take a look at it and say if it was you, and you wouldn't agree with it being by your home, it seems to be probably the right decision for us to make. So that's really all I wanted to share with you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next is Ralph Prater. Mr. Prater, if you just give your name and address for the record, sir, please.
Ralph Prater, 1221 Babbling Brook. I address this audience before with other councilmen before the election. We voted to extend the boundaries, as I recall, from a previous limit, and I voted for it, but I had some reservation that there would be people probably opposed, and I'm basically in favor of the gas drilling, and I'm in favor of this variance that was addressed. I've had many years' experience, synthetic rubber plant, and dealing with all kinds of hydrocarbons and chemicals and solid rocket motor production and very hazardous materials. We can pass all kinds of rules and regulations, but it's the drillers on the site and the attitude of the company that's operating the facility. That's where the rubber hits the road, and I appreciate the cooperation with the fire department and the cooperation we've had. And I realize that I respect the people that may have a very serious emotional tie to anything that says it's hydrocarbon or oil or gas. I've worked in Borger, Texas, and my daughter and family lived in Odessa, if anyone's familiar with those areas. I've been around it and familiar with people working in the oil industry. I worked for them for a few years, and I think the extension of the boundaries that we made previously were logical, and it gives us, as a community, more latitude to say we just don't want to consider it at all if the company and the organization and the location is not reasonable. Just say it doesn't meet the requirements. But I know in rocket motor production, the engineers want perfection, but I was in charge of quality control for a number of years, and you constantly reviewed any discrepancies, and it just merely means that you stop and take a look and evaluate. So I look at this variance as that situation. We extended boundaries to a more logical point, probably, and now we need to look at it in a real-life setting and work with the company that's involved. And as I say, it just seems logical to me, and I'm in favor of the variance, and I have no problem with it. I own property in Sonora, Texas, and there was a gas well and a collection tank of liquid hydrocarbons, and I drove by it with a barbed wire fence from here to the council desk there. I just don't have a problem with some of the fear that some people have, and I've been around these sorts of things for many years, so I'm in favor of it, and I respect people that have a fear for it, but I'd be glad to talk with them in detail if they still had a concern. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Karina Hall.
Hi, I'm Karina Hall. I live at 1768 Massey Drive. I'm actually a student up at the University of North Texas that specializes in geography and hydrology, as well as environmental policy. I was just mainly curious what they're going to be doing with the fracking wastewater. The state of Pennsylvania has recently found, through the studies of the Carnegie Mellon University, as well as their own departments, that wastewater with the elevated levels of bromine used to dilute the water used with gas drilling has caused an adverse health impact within the people that are using the water through their water treatment plants. And I was just curious if the water being used for these facilities are going to be used or treated through our own facilities. And if not, how is they going to be used for disposal, considering you can't put them on the ground because it immediately kills vegetation within days, grass, days, forests, weeks, months. Another thing I was curious about is my own property value, because I own a house on 1768 Massey Drive, and I'm looking to sell because I will be applying for graduate school out of the state, and I was curious how much that's going to influence my property value. Thirdly, I voted for Mr. Vaughn because of his due diligence with the oil and gas company on the runoff election, and I also know that Mr. Gilmore has had problems with Titan, even if it was only $25. I do read your site. I'm heavily involved in politics because that is something I want to do with public policy, environmental issues, especially when it comes with hydrology. So gas and oil industry is something that I do research. So I'm well aware of the various policies that gas and oil companies do use for wastewater, and I am worried about wastewater getting into Central Park. Spills happen. I work in a manufacturing facility. They do happen. OSHA's usually called, and, Environmental Protection Agency, all that. I understand that, but with the proximity to Central Park and the fact I do run there, I do bike there, I do use the Central Park, and I absolutely love it, and I would hate for something to happen to Central Park because of this gas tanks being located where they're at in proximity to Central Park. Not only that, but my own house. So I'm in opposition of these being built here at this time.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, and I'll be sure and ask one of the staff members to get back with you on your question about the wastewater.
Yeah, I'm very curious because it wasn't brought up with the plan, so I don't know if it's being tanked out. I mean, they are using fresh water in the pool, but it has to go somewhere, and you can't use deep. I mean, there's been studies on it. You can't use it and put it deep into the ground because it still causes a contamination. They've been looking at making it solidifying, but I mean, the state of Pennsylvania has cut them off. They can't dump their wastewater into public treatment, and we're already having issues with Lake Louisville and Lake Grapevine with contaminants for other reasons, and this will just be adding more. I mean, the fish population is already dying in those lakes, so, I mean, we can't just keep dumping in there.
Okay. I'll get somebody to get you with that question, okay, ma'am?
Thank you.
You want to address it now or what? Mimboa Lee, I hope I said that right. Robert? I saw you had that in parentheses. I can do that, Robert. If you would, just give your name and address to the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Minbao, or you can call me Robert. I'm the homeowner for Misty Lane in Fox Creek community. I came here just to raise my big concern for the gas drilling because it's so close to the home. It's like 500. My home, I believe, is probably the second closest to the site because the site is so close to the home. And I heard from news based on internet search, I know a lot of accidents happened previously. And once the accident happened, because the site is so close to home, that reminded me of what happened from the BP deep oil drilling and what happened there. And once those kind of things happened, I believe it really jeopardized the life of people living around there. And it will jeopardize the community, the city, and also the pollution, the water contamination, all jeopardize our air and water and environment. That's my big concern. So I just want to express my concern here and really strongly urge you to vote against it. And actually this is a very unique experience for me because I came from China. You know, in China, we really don't have opportunity like this to speak out. And we don't have people representing us to speak for us, to work for us, to vote for us. And this is the great opportunity, and I want to take it, express my concern, and really urge you to support us and do something on behalf of us. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words. Ron Williamson.
Hello, my name is Ron Wilkinson. I'm at 400 Misty Lane. I'm the house that's, I guess, 505 feet from the site. So I do have some questions about that. The presentation, I appreciate that and the way it's laid out. It all sounds great and wonderful and everything that's being done. Originally, when Cherokee Horn was coming out and getting the leases all signed out, I did sign up at that time. They also, at that point in time, gave me a good presentation as to what the fracking process was going to be and everything, how that was going to be handled. However, after the fact, then you start finding out how large the drills are, what they're doing in the site. What I'm not seeing on here is where's the easements, what's going to happen afterwards. I mean, it's nice and contained within this picture, but is it going to go down the green belt and what's going to happen in the area? Also, the traffic problem, I think addressing coming down just a small portion of Southwest Parkway. School buses can't even turn off 121 onto Southwest Parkway because the curve is so sharp. If you have a lot of trucks, you're probably going to have to expand out there. So there's a lot of things to kind of consider that's probably going to tear up the area. I do have concerns with it backing up directly against my house line with 505 feet exactly. What does that do and impact me personally? Is my home still going to be insurable, or is my insurance company going to start dropping me because I'm so close to a drill site? If they drop me, what does that do for me being able to refinance or sell my home at all? So the potential of just losing money on my property, it's not even that. It's losing all my equity and everything on something that I can't refinance and something that I can't sell. So that's a big concern for me at this point as well. The noise volumes, it seems like, is addressed. The emissions, I've also been reading that there's quite a bit of emissions that do leak from most of these drill sites, so I do have concerns with that also being as close to our property. And then any runoff that may be coming out from there, if there's like heavy rains or anything, that is a creek area, so it is going to drain off into the green belt. It will go into Central Park and eventually make it into the water systems.
Thank you very much for your words, sir. And I'll have somebody from staff answer your questions that you had there at the beginning. Okay, sir? Frank Malatesta. Hope I said that correctly, sir?
Yes.
Oh, good. If you will, just give your name and address, please, sir.
Frank Malatus, 424 Misty Lane. Thank you. I think Robert expressed it very well when he mentioned that we do have this opportunity in this country, and I was very touched by the beginning of the Chambers meeting when the prayer and the acceptance of the acknowledgement of the flags. It's a very good point, Robert, and I'm deeply appreciative of that. I think my approach is going to be a little different. So, with that said, I don't mean to sound overly assertive or aggressive or evil-spirited. I don't wish to imply that. I think the representatives from Cherokee Horn, the ladies and gentlemen here, they've been working a long, hard day as you have. But I don't think all the discussions that have come up have not been heard before. I think the rhetoric is well-intentioned, but I think there's an adage that is appropriate. Money talks, words walk. My whole point is this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm against it for a multiple of reasons that have been discussed here and others that probably haven't been. So my point is, what power do I have? The oil companies have heard it 1,000 times. Cities across the country have heard it 1,000 times. You see the news reports where the guy turns on his water and puts a lighter to his faucet in his kitchen and pure fire comes out. The oil companies say, oh, it's fine. Great drinking water. The rhetoric. So my point is simply this, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, council members, if anyone on the council, the city councilman, the mayor pro tem, the mayor, the whatever, my whole point is to encourage everyone in this audience, simply tell 3 people that you know, ask them to tell 3 people they know, and vote every single person on city council, the mayor, Mr. Euchre, Mr. Gilmore, Mr. Gorman, Mr. Vaughn, Mr. Plaster, Julie Hines, whoever votes for it, the only power we have is to vote you out. That's it. I mean, we can discuss this for days and months and discuss all kind of environmental impacts and all that stuff. Money talks, words walk. We don't have the money, but one thing we do have is the power to vote you in or vote you out. And if any one of you vote for it, I'm encouraging, with all due respect, not to be evil here. You've been very respectful to us. In like tone and all due respect, I encourage everyone in the audience, if you pass it and you're against it in the audience, remember the names, vote these people out of office. That they will listen to. You will listen to it next time. And then the next mayor comes in, the next councilman comes in, they'll know that if they pass any legislation that's impeding the safety, the economic factor, the scale of economies, whatever the factors may be for home protection, they'll think twice. That's my point. Simply, if you vote for it, we vote you out. Not to be evil, but just to let you know that that's my belief. That's the only power I see we have. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I do appreciate that. Again, I apologize if I was rude or assertive, but that's all I see in terms of those who are against this. That's the only alternative we have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Tammy Hale.
I'm Tammy Hale. I live at 449 Misty Lane, and the only way I found out about this was through Mr. Lee's flyer that was left on our door. And I agree with my neighbors. You know, this is something that I don't think anybody would want it in their backyard. I don't want it in my backyard. It's mentioned about Southwest Parkway. It is a narrow street. It's 2 lanes. The curves there, it's hard to see traffic coming, and you're going to have those big trucks out there tearing up the street, tearing up 121, and it's just too close to homes. It would affect our livelihood. We just bought our house a few months ago without knowing about this. If we had known, I wouldn't have bought it in Fox Creek Estates. It's a nice neighborhood. We really like it there, and we don't want this in our yard. So I appreciate your time, and I hope you take into consideration what everybody is telling you. And if you want to, well, put it in your backyard, not ours. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. R. Neil Ferguson.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Councilman. I have some notes here I'm going to try to read from, but I've scribbled all over them, so I may get lost here. I recognize that the permit for B&H was submitted prior to improved city ordinances, and those ordinances began making a better effort towards protecting citizens. I am pleased to hear that the application that's before you meets many of our new ordinance provisions, but I can't still help but have some concerns. And my concerns regard emissions. A recent study of well sites in nearby Fort Worth found an alarming 68% of them leaking. That's more than 2 out of 3. Even 1 out of 1,000 should be considered unacceptable. And yet we assume the drillers were following, quote, best business practices, unquote. In front of you, there is a permit package that contains Titan's B&H emissions plan. Strip away the fancy cover sheet and the boilerplate listing basic information on the well, plus Titan's address, and you are left with one single page with the heading, Best Business Practices. And in the 606 total words of that section, little more than the average newspaper editorial, we are left to believe that anything and everything that might happen regarding emissions is reasonably addressed. 606 words. It's time to get serious about this subject. The implications, along with a 68% leak factor nearby, are hard to fathom. What's more, when the output of the new well reaches a point in a few years that it's not economical for the producer to continue, they will cap it and walk away. And guess what? They are done. They pretty much wash their hands. Meanwhile, the permeability of the Earth's substructure under that neighborhood is permanently altered. A well that is not economic to produce is by no means a well that does not continue to release methane gas, radon gas, frac chemicals, and everything else that cannot possibly be removed once it's introduced, and an assortment of other things that were never there to begin with or are now free to migrate. And where do they go? No one can tell you. But with permeability altered, they can go places they never otherwise would have gone. And the well casing, it's designed to support the useful life of the well. It's not designed to last forever. And so it will deteriorate. And that further opens up places for things to migrate. And it will essentially never end. Our charter says this city can sue and be sued. In future years, I don't want to find this city draining its financial resources because it is the deep pockets target of lawsuits over emissions. Titan will be long gone. They can always transfer ownership to some know-nothing corporation that you can't sue for 10 cents. Let's send Titan back to the drawing board at a minimum for at least something more substantive than 606 words. Or let's not approve this permit at all. And for comparison, gentlemen, what I just presented was more than 606 words.
Thank you, sir. right, Gwen? Did I pronounce that right, sir? Not quite. If you'd help me there, I'd appreciate it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Kit Nguyen. I live on 412 Misty Lane. That's the fourth house from Misty Lane. I am opposing the permit. We have rejected several offers from Cherokee Horn to sign a lease and been promised that the drilling will happen far, far away from our home, even though we did oppose it and we never signed with them. We've been living there for almost 10 years, and we intend to stay there for a while until we pay off the house and raise our kids and so on. My wife is asthmatic. I'm very concerned about pollution and negative health effects, especially with emissions, and then, of course, seeping through the groundwater, which can be replaced. And also, that area of Misty Lane and Southwest, it's very narrow. It's impossible to have big rigs driving through, even though with small cars, it's just very dangerous with that big bend already. So my family and all the residents, we hope that this won't pass just because of health and safety reasons. The only thing that will affect Titan is their pocketbook, but it will affect our health. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Patricia Anderson.
Hi.
Just pull that down a little bit for you, ma'am. There you go.
I'm Patricia Anderson. I live in 44 Misty Lane, and I don't like the idea that they're going to be drilling, very close by my house. I have 2 kids. Jessica is 11 and Kevin is 9. We play, in our neighborhood. We ride the bikes, and this is not really happy. I'm not happy because if you vote for that, I'm not going to be happy. I vote for Mr. Gilmore, and I hope that you're going to hear my voice. I really hope that you're going to hear my voice, because this is not right at all. If you will live in my neighborhood, I bet you that you will say no. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Robert Anderson? You're in opposition, sir? All right, thank you, sir. Hazi Bashir?
Yes.
You're also in opposition? Okay, thank you, sir. Cho Metcalf?
That was Chad Metcalf.
I'm sorry, Chad. I beg your pardon, sir. I'm so sorry. That's one from earlier, right? Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Chad. Okay, that's all the cards I had to speak, had filled out to speak. I did have several cards here that I'd like to read that did not wish to speak, but they were also in opposition. Now, if someone on this card that I read here actually wanted to speak, maybe you filled out the wrong card. If you would, please let me know. Michael Lee is in opposition. Bing Wee is in opposition. Joan Wilkinson is in opposition. Janice Cook is in opposition. John Lynn is in opposition. Chad Metcalf, opposition. Laura Metcalf, opposition. Emily, Wendy, and Kenny Minton in opposition. Southwest Printing, Inc. is in opposition. Gene Prime is in opposition. Hal Scott is in opposition. Carla Scott is in opposition. And John Prather is in opposition. Now, all those people were citizens of Louisville. Before we go further, I do want to tell everyone, I do appreciate you coming out, taking your time out and speaking. I know everybody has a busy time. It is an issue that's very important to this council, to our community overall, and all the citizens. We've spent many years, as you know, over the last 5 to 10 years since gas drilling has become evident in the Metroplex area, going over ordinances, setbacks, emissions, wastewater, all those things. We have addressed them a lot. I want to commend our staff and the effort they've done. We even have a citizens group that works with city staff and the drilling companies to make sure they try to come to agreements on some of the things that should be in place to try to ensure the best we can as far as ordinances, as far as setback emissions, so on and so forth. Obviously, no one can ever be perfect, and obviously this is an ever-changing issue with us. Like I said, it's fairly new. It's basically 5-10 years old. We've been doing it here in the Metroplex. We're still learning about it. We've changed our ordinance several times over the past few years with amending it because we find out new technology, new things that we can do to try to improve, because I think we all know that we do need energy to survive. We know our dependence on foreign oil is not a good thing for us. We'll have to have some, but we do know we have a great natural resource in gas, yet we want to make sure that in recovering that gas, that we do it in the proper way that is for the best of our country and for our citizens, especially here in our community. So we do appreciate your time and effort. I encourage you, anytime you have any questions on this, either call us or call our staff. They're very knowledgeable on it. Our Fire Marshal, Tim Ipolato, is very knowledgeable about it. Our City Manager is very knowledgeable about it. Can answer any of these questions. And for those of you that did propose questions, somebody from staff will be getting with you and making sure you get those answers so that you can understand at least what we've done to take precautions so far. So with that being said, once again, I want to thank you for your time in coming out. And with that, I'll turn it over to council now. I'll turn it over, start with Councilman Vaughn.
Mayor, I move to continue the public hearing until October the 1st. It's August the 1st, correction.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Vaughn to continue the public hearing to August the 1st. And let me explain what that is a little bit to you. And Counselor, if I get this incorrect, please correct me, or Julie, one of you, if I get this incorrect. What we're doing, but this is a public hearing, and that's part of our ordinance, is that any time one of these wells is within 800 feet of establishments, then we are required to hold a public hearing. We put that in the ordinance ourselves, we as council did, so it would give someone within 800 feet the opportunity first to know about it and then to come and speak if they want to. Now, in other words, if this well was 1,000 feet away from your house, they wouldn't have to come and have this public hearing. They could go ahead and do it. But being as it was within that 800 feet, we had the public hearing and give the opportunity. So we published that, and we let everyone know we're going to have this. Now, what Councilman Vaughn has proposed, has made a motion to, is to continue this public hearing until the August 1st meeting. And I'm not sure, but I'm assuming, Councilman, because you want to get more input and more information as far as these wells?
Exactly, Mayor.
Okay. So it's not that we're dodging the bullet. It's not that we're approving or disapproving. It's that we want to take in the comments we heard tonight, or at least Councilman Vaughn, I think, as we started taking the comments here, get a few more answers, a few more questions answered so we can make an informed decision. So that's the motion that I understand to be on the floor.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Councilman Thornhill. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, what that simply means is that this will be posted again on our August 1st meeting. If you want to come, we'd love to have you come. You don't really need to have to speak again. Basically, we'll be taking everything that we've heard tonight. If you have some new input or something you'd like to at that time, you're more than welcome to come and speak. That's what we're here for. You're the citizens, just like we're citizens too. So we'd love to have you come, but we want to make sure we're trying to do the best thing we can for our community on an overall basis. Okay? Okay, with that, I say thank you. We'll move on to the next Next item. And, come on back, Councilman. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I beg your pardon, visitor citizen forum, I beg your pardon. At this time, any person with business before the council not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the council. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. I do not have any cards filled out. So then the next item would be consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. For a citizen to request removal of an item, a speaker card must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. I do not have any cards filled out. Councilman Durham?
Mayor, move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Durham to approve the consent agenda, a second by Councilman Grena. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7 is a regular hearing, is consideration of a variance to the Louisville City Code, Chapter 11, signs regarding a freestanding sign located at 908 Valley Ridge Boulevard, as requested by Nathan Pavlica, representing Firebrand Properties. The variance requested was tabled at the June 6, 2011 City Council meeting in order to allow the applicant to explore a deed restriction for the sign variance. Since then, it was determined that the variance could be restricted to the occupant Burger King without a deed restriction. Firebrand Properties is requesting a variance to the sign ordinance to allow a freestanding sign advertising the proposed Burger King restaurant located at 908 Valley Ridge Boulevard. The request is to exceed the allowable height of 30 feet, increasing the height to 50 feet to increase visibility to the I-35E traffic area and Valley Ridge Boulevard. The size of the sign will remain under the allowable size of 150 feet. Recommendation is that council deny the requested variance as set forth in the caption. If we could, staff, get a little short presentation on this and why staff is recommending denial.
Have the overhead, Tim? I'll get this a little closer here. Okay, this variance application is for the former Burger King and its resurrection at the site at 908 Valley Ridge Boulevard. I'll give you some landmarks to pinpoint the location. It's going to be over here down to the south is the Home Depot. Across the street is Lowe's. And then there is a small Chevron station and convenience store located next to that. As long as I have the map up, I'd like to comment that only one other time has council granted the increase in height of a sign, and that's been along the I-35 corridor. The height of those signs are allowed to be 60, and this increase was about 3 years ago, and that was to 75 feet. The ordinance also states that if you're on the I-35 corridor or within 130 feet of the right-of-way, that you can have a sign at 60 feet. The right-of-way typically runs right along parallel to the highway at 130 feet from the ordinance, but this actual right-of-way bulbs out, and still even with that bulb out and no changes in the proposed TxDOT expansion, it's 430 feet from the highway. Originally, we spoke from the very beginning with Firebrand Properties in regards to how staff really didn't feel comfortable supporting this because it's never been done before. It may set a precedence. However, we felt that from the discussions that they could prove either a hardship or that the increase in visibility would really benefit the property, which in the last presentation that we had prior council meeting, that did not occur. Secondarily to that, the apartment complex, Valley Ridge Apartments, is adjoining that property. And in speaking to the management of that property, they felt that because of their residential community and raising it 20 feet higher would be intrusive to the people that live at that residence, and that's why we changed it to denial. The sign they're proposing in their illustration currently, if they were to put the Burger King sign back up, that would be basically what they're illustrating is that it would be blocked out by the Chevron and the Home Depot sign. Now, that only occurs in a certain distance away from or in that shopping center, not really in the visibility in regards to I-35 or Valley Ridge Boulevard. And what they're wanting to do is increase that by 20 feet, which all the other signs in the area are at 30 feet. Their feeling is that it would be above the other signs and be more noticeable. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions of staff at this time?
I do. I have one. Being you've driven up and down 35, I tried to drive up and down 35, but when I was coming down, I admit I got distracted and didn't look to the right so much to even look for the sign. But can it be seen from 35, any distance before or after before the exit? Can it be seen at that, would it be seen at that height before the exit to get off at that location?
In my opinion, driving that every day, that by the time you would notice the sign, you'd already be past the exit.
Okay, so it's not going to help them at all at that point?
That is staff's opinion.
Okay. And that's also from the south side?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If nobody has any other comments?
Yeah, I got some speakers, too.
Okay.
Just want to know if you have any questions of staff right now.
That was the only question I had. I was just wondering if it could be viewed, because I was driving by and I remember seeing the exit sign. I'm going like, I didn't see it, so.
Mr. King, you had something?
Well, Council, the reason staff's recommended denial of this is strictly because of the precedent-setting nature of it. There are probably many locations, I'll just say that, in the city where, due to a certain position that you might position a camera or a person, the view of an individual sign might be blocked, or the perspective of a sign might be obstructed by trees or a flag or another building or any number of things that might be in the right-of-way or on adjacent properties. Really, there really is no limit as to how high you go once you start letting this cat out of the bag, or how many variances you issue. The question is, they just want to be higher than the other ones. Their sign is visible from all locations except for one isolated view, and we just don't feel like that's a reason enough to warrant granting a variance, because there's just so many other locations in town that have a similar situation.
Okay, the only other question I have of staff is, and I don't know if we know this answer, but I'm sure you've seen up and down interstates, freeways, all over the state, little state signs that are on state right-of-way on the freeways that will advertise particular establishments, whether it be, most of them are usually something for a traveler, i.e. a food service facility, a gas station, lodging facility, something like that, for people that are traveling, know that that's coming ahead and they get off. And I'm not talking about a big billboard that they pay for over the side. You see those too, but I'm talking about that are actually on the freeway in right-of-way themselves, just off the road. They'll tell you about that coming up. Would this sign not qualify for something like that? This establishment, I'm sorry, this business establishment not qualify for something like that they could petition the state for, to have that put up so that, as Councilman Grinner brought up, they would know in advance before they got to the exit that there was an exit there at that location, an establishment there at that location?
Well, the business certainly qualifies for it. That's a standardized program by the Texas Department of Transportation, and it's subject to availability on those signs. They don't have an infinite number of signs that they can put up, but There's a fee associated with it. The businesses that advertise on those signs pay the state of Texas for the right to do so, and there's no discrimination other than it's supposed to be for lodging and food and gas, I believe, are the criteria that they use.
Okay. That was my question, and that was my thought to Councilman Renner's statement and to yours also. I'm not a big proponent of large signs, pole signs anyway, as Councilman Durham knows, but I'm more of a monument sign type person. I think it aesthetically looks better. But
And speaking of monument signs, Mayor, a monument sign would resolve the obstruction issue associated with the Chevron sign, and I believe that was discussed with the proponents, but they prefer the pole sign.
Okay. Any other questions of staff at this time? Okay, I do have a card filled out here. Nathan Pavlica. Did you want to come speak, sir, or are you just here for questions? Just here for questions. I'm sorry, sir. Okay. Thank you. Okay, now, Councilman Grant, I'm sorry.
If nobody has any other comments, I move to deny per the request or the recommendation of the staff.
Second.
We have a motion to deny the recommendation, deny
the sign
as per recommendation of the staff. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. Thank you for wording it correctly. Thank you.
And a second by Councilman Thornhill. Any further discussion?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I can. I'll be voting against the motion, and as per usual, I'm against most of the sign ordinances, but I will vote against this motion. But this is right at the edge of, it's getting into a residential neighborhood, and it's right at the edge of me going against this request also. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Next item is item 8, consideration of a resolution requesting the Texas Department of Transportation release, control, and maintenance of spur 3504, also known as Mill Street, but a lot of people didn't know that, from State Highway 121 business to FM 1171. Mill Street, also known as Spur 3504, connects to State Highway 121 business to FM 1171 East Main Street, and East Main Street was taken off system and placed with the control of the city in 2003. City has approached TxDOT to also take Mill Street off system as the city is better able to maintain the road. In addition, the city received a grant to improve part of Mill Street, and the improvements can better be implemented by taking the road off the system and place it within control of the city. Recommendations that City Council approve the resolution as set forth in the caption above. And I do have cards filled out here by Amanda Ferguson, who is a business owner at 135 West Main Street, and Amanda Ferguson, who is also a resident at 937 Timber Creek. She is in support of this item, but did not wish to speak. Councilman Gilmore?
This is one of those things that really excites me, and I know that's really strange, but I'm really glad to see this moving forward this way, and I would move that we request Texas Department of Transportation to release control and maintenance of 3504 and put that under our control.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Gilmore, a second by Councilman Grenna. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Down to reports. Nika. Bob. Chief? Linda? Chief Kerbo?
Yes, sir.
That was very nice honor you gave that young lady, and I know it was very special to her and her family, and we appreciate you and all that you do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for allowing.
Carol?
Without any rain, we actually are seeing our lake levels start to go down, and with the heat, there's evaporation rates higher, so we've probably dropped about 1.5 feet in the last 2.5 weeks.
But I want you to know that I got a fishing report this afternoon that said there in the mornings they're out there schooling all over the lake. You can catch all you want.
We had some fishermen send a picture of some of the large catfish they caught as well, so that part's good.
Thank you, Carol. Donna?
Yes, Mayor, tomorrow night, the Sounds of Louisville music series is at the MCL Grand Theater, starts at 7 p.m. The band is Mojo Filter. It's a Beatles tribute band, and it is free. There's a lot of other activities going on in the next couple of weeks at the MCL Grand, and I encourage everyone to go to mclgrand.com to check those out.
That's also available on our city webpage, right?
Yes, sir.
The link for that. Thank you. Linda? Mr. Ferris? Mr. Backus? Councilman Durham?
Only one thing, Mayor. I'm tired of the heat already. Let's go back to the Super Bowl week or whatever we had then. I'm ready to go back. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Green?
Nothing, Mayor.
Councilman Gilmore?
As my wife so succinctly put it, there's only about 4 to 5 weeks left of summer vacation. And if you'd like to beat the heat, I'd suggest getting into the library. They've got some wonderful programs going on this summer for kids and adults, and it's a wonderful resource.
Thank you, sir. Mr. King?
Well, Council, as you know, I've been doing some traveling in recent weeks on personal matters, and I wanted to show you why I was traveling. If Tim can bring that up.
looky here. Oh, man.
This is the first newest addition to the King family. This is Georgia Madeline, who lives in New York City.
Oh, wow.
Taking on her first July 4th. Her mother's birthday is on July 4th, so it's a big deal up there. So that's Georgia, who lives in New York City. And then this, 2 weeks later, is Lily and Eliza, who lives in Georgia.
Isn't that awesome?
You can keep all that straight. And that's Shannon's daughter. First one's Kristen's, and the second one is Shannon's daughter.
Now, this last one's the youngest?
By 2 weeks.
So, in other words, she's looking there, looks like she's maybe praying, oh, please, God, let Grandpa have a lot of money. And then put the other one back up there.
Praying.
And put the other one back up there. Yeah. And then this is the older one. Says, yay, Grandpa's got a lot of money.
Yeah, both are infants and really don't know what they're saying. So.
No, they know what they're saying. You don't know
Their
what
parents,
they're saying.
unfortunately, know what they're probably saying. But anyhow, I just wanted to share that with y'all.
Congratulations.
Been an exciting time for Patricia and I.
Congratulations, Grandpa. Councilman Thornhill.
No, sir.
Councilman Vaughn, welcome to the council, sir.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here, and I have nothing further.
Thank you. Councilor? Julie? Thank you very much. Officer, we thank you very much for being here tonight. We appreciate you. With that, and in conjunction with in accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.072, property acquisition, and Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiation, we convene into executive session. 9 times out of 10, it never goes.
Hiding plain view, just like us.
Does he know we're supposed to come out here? Julie, do I need to sign anything for recusing myself? No? All right.
Okay, we'll reconvene back in the regular session. Is there any action to be taken, council?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second. Have a motion to adjourn by Councilman Green, a second by Councilman Durham. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, but we don't need to get in the habit of making it this long.
No, it's...